So hi guys, welcome to Phoenix Desserts View YouTube channel. So today we're going to be talking about whipped cream, stable whipped cream, like the pros and the cons of having a successful experience every time you whip up your stable whipped cream. Now the reason why I came out to shoot this video is because in as much as I have found it very easy, like super easy to work with whipped cream over the years, I've been able to understand that there are few tips and tricks and a few hacks that you might need to make sure that you end up with a good result every time. Okay, so I have come up with a few points and then let's just run by it very quickly so that I don't take too much of your time. And the good thing about this, my tips and my tricks, is it is not only peculiar to my own recipe. Yes, I always say it every time that recipe is very important, but you need to realize that as much as your recipe is important, the steps and the technique at which you arrive at your product is even a little more important than the recipe, because you can get recipe anywhere, but the technique has to be followed through strictly. So this, my techniques and my tips and my tricks, would help you even if you don't come to buy my recipe. Even if you want to stick to your recipe, it is very versatile and you can actually apply it to your own. So let's go. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to be letting you know the steps to note when you want to whip up your whipped cream. Number one, you need to ensure that you use a cold stainless steel bowl, because some people have used plastics and all that, but I've been able to understand that stainless steel bowls retain temperature better. So in case you want to use it for something heated, it retains the temperature better. So in this situation, it retains the cold temperature around the bowl better and helps the cream to whip up even a lot faster than if you were using a glass bowl or a rubber or a plastic bowl. Do you get that, right? So before when you want to buy your mixer for your whipped cream specifically, you need to bear that in mind and look out for those that have the stainless steel bowls. When you pop them into the freezer ahead of time, like 1 hour before use, by the time you bring them out, they get colder. They get cold faster in the freezer than any other kind of bowl, and they retain that cold temperature a lot better to run through the whipping time for your whipped cream, so that it doesn't get warm whilst you are still whipping and then you end up with a disaster. Okay, so that's why I said ensure you use a cold stainless steel bowl, because that retains the cold temperature best and helps the cream to whip up fast. Okay, and also ensure that you have to make use of a cold wire whisk, not a beater, not a K beater. You are going to be needing a wire whisk, a balloon whisk, because that is the one that's going to give it volume and help it to double in volume whilst you're whipping it, because that is one of the what you're going to look out for when you're whipping up your cream. Aside from following through with the timing, you need to see that it has doubled in volume before you know that it's actually ready for use. The second point is ensure you start. So the second point is this, alright? So when you bring out your bowl from the freezer, okay, and then you put your whipped cream powder. In this case, you don't even need to make your whipped cream powder cold. It can be normal temperature like I do with my own, as long as your stainless steel bowl is super cold, your wire whisk is super cold, and your water is ice cold. Note that you're good to go. So when you do that, when you measure out your recipe according to the recipe that you've been conversant with, or you want to come for mine, I have that available. But if you want to use up your own, when you pour your water in and then you pour the powder in, try and use a wire whisk or a spatula or anything to quickly turn it together to smoothen it into like a thick paste before you then go ahead to start up your electric mixer. By the time you start up your electric mixer, you start from the lowest speed, or rather from the medium speed, and leave it for about 3 to 5 seconds, and then you increase to the highest speed. Number one, this helps it not to splash and make a mess all around. Two, this helps you to further incorporate together and moisten up before you then aid the whipping process and help it to double in volume and then achieve its stable consistency. Alright, and then again, never let the ice in the water get into the powdered cream. That one is a red flag. Don't be tempted to add ice cold water that would have ice block or ice pieces in it, because it would not dissolve in your cream. remember it's a cold based cream, so if you put any ice pack inside or any ice pieces inside your cream, it's just going to get harder, because remember that when you whip up your cream, you're returning it into the fridge, so there is no temperature that's going to help it to dissolve better. So ensure that no matter what happens, you can even use a fine mesh sieve to sieve your water inside it if you have a lot of icy, modules and icy blocks and everything inside of your water. Instead of you sieving it apart, you can just, so that you just know that you are having only your super cold ice water, because when you leave the ice in it, it's going to whip up fine, yes, but by the time you start applying around the sides, importantly on your cake, you'll see the lumps of the ice on the sides of the cake, and then you need to start picking those out, and that doesn't give you a clean job all the time. So let's go right into it now. And again, I said, for you to know that it is ready, you need to whip it till it doubles in volume. Number one, it has to have a smooth and a silky look, but not softened. If you work with whipped cream over time, you will see that being softened is not it being smooth. So now it has to double in volume. That's the number one rule. And then it has to look smooth, because it's whipped cream. It's supposed to be really creamy, and then it's supposed to look shiny, like it's ready, but not like it will be soupy or it's going to be runny. Please guys, it's not going to be like that. Then again, to avoid whipping your cream for too long, because I already said that earlier, I don't know, I think I even jumped the point where I talked about before whipping it, you just need to stir it together into a smooth paste before you whip it. So that's the point I have here already. And then always allow your cream to rest immediately after whipping. That is because it needs to sit for a while to get over the rigors of the whipping process. The only time I don't let it rest is if I'm using the entire batch for crumb coating. But if I am not using for crumb coating, or if I'm using for both crumb coating and final coating, I need to separate the one for the crumb coating, because I prefer to use that one as it is, because I like it a bit softened but still stable. And then I take out the parts that I'm going to be using for my final coating and then pop it into the fridge for it to rest, and then it gives me a better result. Should in case I need to add color, it is at that point you need to add your color into your cream, so that the resting will take place at the original color that which you want the cream to be. So if you're using if you want to achieve a strong color, it's actually best for you to use powdered color, because these ones don't alter the stability of your cream, because they're powder, right? You know how powder enhances the already stability that it has. So but if you want to work with pastel colors like peach, pink and the likes of it, you can still use your good oil based a good food safe paste color. That way you don't get to work with liquid colors that can alter your stability. So that's about coloring the cream as well. So when you pop it into the fridge for a few minutes, 30 minutes thereabout, it helps it to firm up nicely, and then you get better control of it while you are applying around the sides of your cake. So even if you are working in an environment that is not super cold, the fact that the cream is already sorted makes it good for you. And always note that when you're working with your cream, ensure to work as fast as possible so that you don't really overly stress it. So now let's go into the parts. I see always allowed to cool. So this is the second to the last point now. This is also very important. It says how to salvage a soupy or a runny whipped cream. We all know how whipped cream can test our patience and intelligence sometimes. So this is the time you need to understand them. You need to put a stop to thrashing your whipped cream if it doesn't come out nice. There are some times that you actually whip up your cream and it doesn't come out as expected. This kind of situation puts you to test and make you feel like you don't know what you're doing, and then you just probably out of frustration just trash it. Please say no to trashing of your whipped cream now. Number one, because now things are so expensive, you can't possibly want to be trashing your cream even if you feel like it's not up to the standard or up to the kind of stability that you want. So let's just go right into the troubleshooting hacks now. So if you are in any kind of situation like that, all you need to do is, first of all, don't panic, okay? So you'd reduce the mixer speed to the barest minimum, then begin to add 1 tablespoon at a time of the powdered whipped cream into the soupy whipped cream, and then leave it like to keep stirring, not whipping, okay? So you can add as much as possible until you get to that stiffness that you think you are looking for. After you do that, now that's going to be determined by how soupy or how bad it had gone. And then after doing that, you just increase to the highest speed for just about 30 to 40 seconds. That is just to kickstart, like to kickstart or reactivate the whipping and then the stability again. So even if you do all of that, I mean, this is going to help you at least to save up your whipped cream if it is not suitable or you feel it's not stable enough for you to use around the size of your cake. You can still pipe using that one. It's very pipeable. You can use it to fill up the layers of your cake or sandwich the layers of your cake. You can pipe on cupcakes or the butter, and you can still use it for your crumb coat. Rather than trashing everything, I mean, you can still salvage it and use it for something like an alternative. So it's still a win-win to me. All right, so after saying that, what I do now is to tell you how to store your leftover whipped cream. Some people have asked me how I store my leftover whipped cream, and again, I don't trash that. What I do is to get it into an airtight container, use a cling film to double seal it, and then cover with the lid and pop it into the freezer. This can keep for at least 2 weeks, as long as your freezer is cold and working effectively. By the time you bring it out 2 weeks after or the next time you need it, it's supposed to be hard. You bring it out about 10 to 15 minutes before you, just for it to soften lightly. Remember, it's not supposed to go back to a melting or a so soften state. Just let it come down out of that freezing point. And at that point, you can just use your rubber spatula to work it a few times with gentle strokes, and it will be very good to fill your cake layers. It will be good to pipe on the top of your cake. It will be good for your cupcakes and your crumb coating as well. That way you don't need to whip up a new batch for that point. You can just whip up for the final coating. You need to work smart, and you need to think of ideas on how not to waste your product, especially at a time like this. So that's going to be all for today. I hope that you found this insightful and helpful. I hope that you're going to be able to apply these tips and tricks and then these hacks into your own recipe. That is, if you are very comfortable with the recipe. If you are not, I'm here to have you in my class, in my own community. But whatever it is, it should work for you. Okay, so let me know in the comment box if you found this helpful. Give us a thumbs up if you learned something today. And as always, I would urge you, to always subscribe to this YouTube channel, and let's continue to build a growing network here. So till next time, I remain your favorite girl, your favorite baker girl, Phyllis Desserts. Bye bye.